Good to see you, Harold.
How was your golf yesterday?
Again, tomorrow we will not be doing the Tzurva Shir, but we will do it the Daf Yomi at 9 o'clock.
Okay.
We're on Tes Amud Aleph.
Okay.
Eisvei Ravada Bar Masel Rava Haisa Kod Rasa Meshucha Otluya. The Korah is either suspended or pulled away. So we have to imagine that you've got the mavui, and instead of the Korah going from one end to the other, somebody put a post in the middle and placed a beam on top of it, but the beam does not reach the sides of the wall. So the din is pachas mishlosha if the beam is within 3 tvachim of the wall. We use the principle of lavud. Lavud means you close a space within anything that is
like on the sukkah, huh?
On sukkah.
Like in the sukkah, if it's 3 tvachim, well,
it's a lot like sukkah here.
But remember, sukkah, if you're talking about up and down, that's a different principle. That's called good asik or good achis.
Yeah, but you have it in concept of lavud in sukkah also.
You have it as well. It means if the wall of the sukkah is within 3 tvachim of the other wall, then it's considered as if it's closed. So here as well.
Okay.
If it's within 3 tvachim of the wall, then the korah is an effective korah. Shlosha, if it's beyond 3, tzarach lavi korah acheres, then this korah is not effective. Rav Shimon Gamliel argues regarding lavud. He says lavud extends up to 4 tvachim. He's more lenient. He says as long as it's pachas marba, ain't tzarach lavi korah acheres. You don't have to bring another beam. If it's arba or more, tzarach lavi korah acheres. Now, we had just previously yesterday learned that if the korah was at the outside of the mavui, but in contact with the walls, so Rava said that it would work. However, the Gemara wants like this: my lav meshucha mibachutz. That when you said meshucha otluya, this havamin of the Gemara is that meshucha and tluya are two different things. Meshucha is when the beam is on the outside of the mavui, but let's say close within 3. And tluya means maybe bifnim is within. And that would be a kasha on Rava, who said that an outside mavui would never work. So the Gemara says, "Lo, adiv adi bifnim." Both meshucha and tluya refers to the koira being within the space of the mavui. Meshucha means meruach achas. Meshucha means one end of the beam did not touch the wall and was 3 tvachim away from the wall. Tluya meant mishtei ruchos, that it's away from the wall on both sides. Now the question is, why couldn't I just learn one and I would know the other? More says no. Ma'od is saying meruach achas amrinan lavud, mishtei ruchos lo amrinan lavud. Maybe I would say that this principle of lavud would only work if you had a defect on one side of the beam to one wall. But to say that you use lavud on both sides of the beam, maybe we don't say lavud. Kamash Malon that we do say lavud in that situation as well. Rav Ashi explains meshucha otluya means meshucha v'hi tluya. He said that we're talking about a beam that's hung above the mavui, walls. It's like you hammered in a right angle peg into either side of the mavui, and to be able to lay the beam not directly on the walls themselves, but a little bit suspended above the walls. Now, she'ein begoiv and shloisha that don't place the beam higher than 3. Vein bak musem shloisha. Ma'adusema o lavud amrinan o chavud amrinan. Chavud means to bring. That means if the beam was 3 tvachim above the wall, you would bring. Chavud means bring it down. Lavud is side to side. So maybe you have a choice. You can use a fictional lavud side to side, or chavud amrinan, but lavud v'chavud lo amrinan. But to use both fictions to say that we're going to say lavud and chavud, maybe we wouldn't say kamash blunt. We say chavud as well as lavud. That's important halacha. And as you say, that applies to sukkah as well. Tani Rab Zakai Kamed Rav Yechon. Bein l'chaim b'tachas hakoira. What is the status if you want to carry something between, let's say, on opposite of the lechi that you've placed on the, the entrance of the mavli or the beam that you've placed? So Rav Yochanan says nidin kakarmelis. It's treated like a karmelis. Now, karmelis, you can't carry more than daled amas. Really, Mikra Adina karmelis, let's say, is a place that's 4 by 4 tvachim, but doesn't have walls around it higher than 10. It's a separate rishus. Well, that would be a makom patur. But a karmelis is like a beach. Certain areas that really Mikra Adin, they're not a rishus harabim, or they might be a rishus hayachid, but you might confuse them with a rishus harabim, and they called it a karmelis. You're not allowed to carry them. So Rav Yechon wanted to say between l'chaim under the koira is a karmelis. Omer lei, he doesn't put Tony Livra. Rav Zakai tried to say this from Rav Yechon, and Rav Yechon didn't accept it. He said, go out. It's not a karmelis. You're allowed to carry. Omer Rabbi, Mistavim Yis Rav Yechon Tachas HaKoy. When Rav Yechon rejected Rav Zakai, he rejected Rav Yechon rejected it only under the koira, where he felt you could carry under the koira. But he agreed that to try to carry opposite a lechi would be osir. Rava said, just like we can carry underneath the koira, you can carry between the lechaim as well. How do I know this? Let's say you have a rishus that's not arba al arba, so it's really a mokum p'tur. And therefore, if it adjoins a Rishus Harabim or Rishus HaYachid, you can transfer from Rishus Harabim into a Mokum P'tur, and from a Mokum P'tur into a Rishus Harabim, and vice versa. The same thing with the Rishus HaYachid. You cannot put something in Rishus Harabim into the Mokum P'tur and then push into the Rishus HaYachid, because you're not allowed to go from Rishus Harabim to Rishus HaYachid derech another thing. If the Akira and the Hanocha were done in the two prohibited places. So that's a gzeira. But to go from Rosh Hashanah to a Mokum P'tur, vice versa, or to go from Rosh Hashanah to a Mokum P'tur, or vice versa, that's permitted. And therefore, much of the Rosh Hashanah, the Rosh Hashanah, the kasef alam. Let's say they're carrying, somebody's in a Rosh Hashanah, they're carrying a heavy load. They're allowed to sort of lay it down in this place, which is a Mokum P'tur, less than Dalid, and rest. The Vat says the Gemara shelo yachlifu. You cannot transfer something that you deposited into the Mokum P'tur from the Rishus HaRabim, transfer it into the Rishus HaYachid, that's a gzeira. The Abaya will learn Hasum Gavor Shloisha. The reason that Abaya learns is from Rav Dimi, that's when this area was higher than Rishus HaRabim by 3 tfachim. So it's easy to see that it's separate from the other Rishuyos. And therefore it's treated like a Rishus by itself. But in Chanavi according to Abai, if it was not elevated by 3 tfachim, you would not be allowed to do that. Amar Abai no amin Allah. How do I know that? Dobra of Chamer Bar Gui Amar Rav. Tocha Pesach. If you're within the opening of a mavui, let's say they have a lechi. Rashi says, "K'kod mavi sheish tzimim rochavim lepischo mikan mikan." You have a mavui, and there are very thick boards, almost closing off the mavui to make it like a rishus hayachid. And those are the lachayim that you can carry inside the mavui. But now you need to put a lechi in where these thick walls are, if you want to walk between these, right at the opening there where you've placed the opening. So maybe you'll tell me over there, it's because those pillars or columns occupied an area of Dal. It has nothing to do with our Baal. The Rava Hasam the Betzot Karmelis. The reason why there was a problem there without a lechi is because it's open to a karmelis. it would be permitted. What do you mean? Your hand is on the, you are on the ground and something else is in heaven, meaning it makes no sense. If it's opening up to a Carmelist, you're treating it more stringently than when it's opening up to Rosh Hashanah. Carmelist is bichlal, not even also maybe the Raisa. What is it? Matzah minas mino v'neir. So when the Rishus HaYachid opens up into, let's say, a Mokum Tour, so the Mokum Tour takes on the character of the Rishus HaYachid. If it opens up into a Carmelist, it takes on the activity of a Carmelist. That's the concept of the min finds its own min. We have that in your day as well, when certain additives, certain isurim are added. Normally, let's say it's under the amount, but once you add another min to it, it'll find its min, and it sort of reawakens the isur. You don't hold that it's prohibited to carry between the l'chaim. Let's say you had a mavli, and you placed lechis inside the mavli, going in towards the back of the mavli. Now, pachus marba. Now, let's say these distances between all these lechaims that you built into the wall of the mavli is less than 4. Regarding whether you extend lovud up to 3 or whether you extend lovud up to 4. Love it up to 4. So all of these are viewed as one big lechi. And therefore you wouldn't be able to carry between the lechis. So mishtamish, you could only walk in the mavli until the inner point of the most innermost lechi. Now, according to Chacham, these l'chaim were more than 3 tfachim away from each other. So you don't say lavud. So therefore, we don't say that these things have anything to do. There's not one big lechi. The only lechi is the lechi that's right at the opening of the mavi. Therefore, you can carry the mavi until the inner point of the outer lechi. It comes out that if you hold, no matter what you hold, like you can't carry between the l'chaim, which is a kasha on Rava. The only reason over here we say that you're not allowed to carry between the l'chaim because this opening of the mavi was open to a karmelis. But then a chanami, if it was open to Rosh Hashanah, it would be permitted. For the Gemara again, of Rosh Hashanah, my shari. How can you say that the treaty opening of Rosh Hashanah is going to be less machmir? What is it? What's the minus me over there? Or Ravashi or Mar, different pshat. Kigon shritzof l'chaim pachus me'arba. You built lechis going into the mavli less than arba tfachim, b'meshach arba amos, only for an extension of arba amos. The Rabbi Lavud, we'd say lavud, so this is all one big lechi, havale mavli. So this new area that you created is its own mavli. And tzarech lechi acher latiro. It's sort of like a mavli within a mavli. And this new mavli that you created through the lechi construction needs its own lechi to carry there within bein alachai. Well, Rabban, because you didn't create a new mavli. Remember, if you build a wall in a corner where you can see it from one end, can't see it from the other end, we say it doesn't work fully. That's like Rabbi Yochanan. If it can only be seen as a lechi from the outside of the mavli, but people on the inside of the mavli don't see it, then it's Eino Nidr Mishum Lechi. You'd have to put another lechi there. Period. Itmar. Nirim bifnim. Let's say the lechi is seen on the inside, but if you're looking at it from the outside, it's completely even with the walls on the outside, so nobody on the outside would see it as a lechi. Nidr Mishum Lechi. For the people in the mavli, it's a good lechi. You can carry the mavli. Nirim v'chutz v'shav bifnim. If it sticks out into the Rishus HaRabim from the mavli, so the people outside can see it, but it's flush to the wall, so the people on the inside cannot see it. So that's a machlokes amay roim Rab Chia Rab Shimon ben Rebbe. Chad Amar nidin mishum lechi. One says it's treated like a lechi. Chad Amar eno nidin mishum lechi. And the Gemara is going to prove to Stayim Rab Chia Hu Amar nidin mishum lechi. That it's Rab Chia who says that a flush lechi from the inside is treated as a lechi. Where do you see that? The time Rab Chia koisel should see echad konos bechavero. If you have a wall, sort of a second wall built inside of a mavui, whether or not you can see it from the outside, it does make a difference. It's treated like a lechi. So we see very clearly that whether you can see it or not see it from the inside or the outside doesn't make a difference regarding its status as a lechi. To Stayin, he's proved that it's Rab Chia who says that. Did not Rab Chia know this halacha? He heard it, but he didn't hold of it. And Rab Chia Nami lo sovereign law. Rab Chia also doesn't hold of it. Hi, my. What do you mean Rab Chia doesn't hold of it? You just quoted it. So Bishop Rab Chia lo sovereign law, Bishop Hachi lo tari law. Fine. Rabbi Yochanan didn't hold of it, so therefore he didn't quote it in his baraisa. Fine. El Rab Chia, yes, lo sovereign law, lama le misna. You just quoted me. The Tani Rab Chia, Koisel Judechad is near needed committed left. If Rab Chia didn't hold of it, how's he quoting it in a baraisa? Now you can ask me, why is Rab Chia quoting a baraisa? Rab Chia is not Meira. So just like we say Rav, Tanahu Upalig, so Rab Chia is also Tanahu Upalig. They were the first generation after Rebbe. They were the Talmidei Muvhakim of Rebbe. And therefore they had the right in certain places, Shas will say, to be the author of a baraisa. Therefore, sometimes if you bring a Mishnah to argue with Rab Chia, and normally if an Amoira can't argue with a baraisa or a Mishnah, sometimes they'll say it doesn't make it. They can argue because Rav Tana Upali, the same status is said by Rab Chia. It can be seen from the outside, but the people on the inside can't see it. Nid mishum lechi. Like Rab Chia said, on Rabbah. But this is a problem, a kasha, on what we learned before. Right? You have a small chutzner that pushes into a chutzner gedola, and it empties into the chutzner gedola. Some of the walls of the chutzner ketana are sticking into the chutzner gedola. Gedola muteris uktana asura. You can carry in the big chutzner. You can't carry in the small chutzner. Remember, the people in the small chutzner don't see it. The people in the Chutzner Gedola have four walls. They see these things sticking in. It's not a problem for them. They can see it. The people in the Chutzner don't see anything there. Because the Chutzner Gedola is like in the opening of the Gedola. Now, if it's correct what we said before, that a nirmi b'chutz v'shav v'ftim is nirmi shalechim, es a ketana nami tishri b'nirmi b'chutz v'shav v'ftim. Even though the people in the Chutzner Ketana cannot see it, because they can't see the wall sticking into the Chutzner Gedola. They see three walls only. But if it's correct that Rabbi Ravuna said it's nid mishum lechi, it still should be considered like a lechi, because even though they don't see it, we just said near b'chutz v'shav v'ftim, it's okay. On Rav Zera, b'nichnasim koislik tam l'gdola. It's not that the Chutzner opens up. There's actually sticking. It actually sticks. The walls stick into the Chutzner. Why don't we say between the walls of the Chutzner Ketana sticking in and the side wall, if it's less than 3 tfachim, you could say lafut, and then it would all be like one wall, and you could say the tissue would all be permitted to carry both the Chutzner Gedola and the Chutzner Ketana. Maybe they're too far away from the wall. You can't use lavud. Which means there's only a difference between one tefach between the two. You certainly could say love. And on Ravina Bumuflogi Mikoisel Zebishnayim, Umikoisel Zebarbo. On one side it's 2, on the other side it's 4. Since it's 4, you can't say lavud. You'd only be able to say lavud on one side. So still says the Gemara V'leim and lavud Mirachachas V'tishtri. So fine. As long as you have to have lavud on one side would be permitted. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Hidomer Bein and Shnei Pasim. In order to do it, you need 2 beams. We'll just deal with this tomorrow. Okay.